Is it in the more?
And it's recording, I think. And thank you so much, Jaclyn from Calm, Connect and Heal Therapeutic Services here. Jacki Hall joining us to talk on the Resourceful Therapist YouTube channel. It's wonderful to meet you again and chat. Yeah. So, Jacki, just a little bit before we talk about resource therapy, about yourself and your journey and the work you've been doing.
Yes, well, I started my career in the human services sector back in 2007. And since then, I've worked in counselling, case management, and leadership roles in government and non-government organisations in areas like mental health, out-of-home care, domestic and family violence, and disability. And then in 2022, I was brave enough to put my own private practice together, so Connect and Therapeutic Services. And I've been growing that really gradually since then, whilst also welcoming my third little baby into the world. And yeah, that's one of the things I love about private practice, I think, is that I get to balance all that beautiful, meaningful clinical work whilst also being there for the school events and important moments with the kids. And that's another one of the reasons why I like resource therapy and being an RT trainer now, because I get to diversify my practice. So not just the interactions with client work, but also being able to support other therapists in learning this really beautiful modality.
Oh, thank you for sharing as a newly minted trainer and actually having started your foundation soon. I'll be asking you questions about that. I'm hearing you come from a very diverse background of experience there, and I just have a curiosity. I'm drawn to Connect and Heal Therapeutic Services. That name, how come you chose that name, Jacki?
Interesting story, I suppose. I was actually just going on a walk one day down in the area that I live, and it just kind of landed. So perhaps a part gave me the name. I guess thinking about the way that I hold space with clients and my therapeutic modalities generally, I want clients to land in my space and so that they can settle. Often they come and they've been carrying so much stuff, and you can sort of see it in their body. And I think, the goal is to just calm, just settle, and then it's unpacking, like, what's happening for you today? Where would you like this journey to go? That's kind of what is behind it when I was thinking of it anyway.
Oh, what a perfect, yeah, absolutely. I love the way you said that too, is that calmness that you bring. You have that energy. I do know you, of course. And what a beautiful story. And you do offer that space in your energetic system, and great for training too. So you shared with me you're already an experienced trainer in other areas. Yes. What draws you to training in your private practice too? It's another variety, isn't it?
It is another variety. I guess I first became involved in training when I was working for Legal Aid. So I've worked for Legal Aid in their domestic violence unit and Your Story legal support programs over the years. So being an allied health worker with a multidisciplinary team and training solicitors, key concepts like trauma-informed care, vicarious trauma, self-care, those sorts of things. And I've always really enjoyed taking what sounds like a tricky concept and explaining it and making it user-friendly and seeing those moments where people can reflect differently on how they work with clients with that added knowledge. And I suppose, yeah, that's another reason why I've sort of wanted to become an RT trainer. I love the modality so much. People probably get sick of me saying it's just such a compassionate and beautiful approach, but I really believe it is. And I look forward to sharing, what I love about RT with other experienced clinicians.
And I can already hear the benefits people have as you love sharing, your passion for resource therapy. I can hear that complex things made easy, concepts, putting them in a way and transporting them. That'll be very beneficial for your group. So tell me, Jacki, what first brought resource therapy on your radar, into your radar?
Yeah, well, I hadn't heard of it at all for quite a long time. And then I was doing some advanced training in EMDR, some relational integrative training with Steve And that was the first time there that I had ever even heard the word resource therapy. And from that moment, I loved it. I'll say that many times throughout our chat today. I enrolled in the foundation certificate pretty much straight away, and I have not looked back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continued on the journey, and now you're sharing the foundation with others, really. And tell me, and when you first were introduced it, not having heard from it at all,
Yeah.
what was it that kind of perked up your ears and drew your attention to RT?
Well, I think because I work so much with relational and complex trauma and sort of coming to the training in that EMDR space, just knowing that I wanted to work with the different parts that would be present. I suppose like parts broadly, they do talk sometimes about parts broadly in that EMDR training. And I just knew I didn't have anything to anchor
Mhm.
my knowledge in with that sort of stuff. Having heard broadly about IFS but never trained in it, read a lot about
Yeah.
parts work. But yeah, being able to, I guess, identify the part that holds the wound or the distress or the experience rather than just working with the part that knows the story. That was a real aha moment for me. And I see when I explain that to clients and trainees as well, that's a moment where things shift because sometimes people do, they come and they say, I see the patterns, I understand, where this comes from, but I still feel. And I'm like, yes, that's because we need to work with the part that's holding the experience.
Yes, yes. So I wonder, my curious part is out, of course. I have you got one of those aha moments for yourself when resource therapy really clicked, either with the client or in your training?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Like in the training, definitely. Those moments, well, I love like with the training that it's very experiential. So we're not just learning the concepts, like we're actually having a go at practicing it. And always those moments where we vivify, we're bridging, and then wherever we land, is like, oh, as I'm reflecting, it's like, I didn't think that it would be there, but now that it's gone there and we've done that work, that makes so much sense. So just trusting the process in really, really important.
And can I lean into one of those moments where you went, oh, and tell me more about that?
Well, one of them would have been in our clinical training, Philipa.
Yeah.
And perhaps that I guess that bridge to a tricky experience earlier in my career. And again, thinking I've done a lot of work on that
Mhm.
stuff and, the part that knows the story, I was like, no, we've already covered that. We've worked with that. That can't be a trigger anymore.
Yeah.
But no, it hadn't, realizing it hadn't been fully worked with. Like there was so much unresolved emotion there and realizing that I think that was like a double bridge type moment where we went back to this experience at work almost 15 years ago now. And then
Mhm.
from there, something when I was much younger. So just
Mhm.
seeing that pattern
Mm.
of how emotion can show up and how we carry it when it's not fully resolved.
Oh, thank you for sharing that because I think it is when you're in the client's chair and have had an experience of what you think you might have resolved and have done a lot of work on, and I find that with
Mm,
RT, it does talk to that part. Yeah, there's these patterns that belong to our earlier attachment, and that's where these begin, isn't it? Oh, I
yeah.
really appreciate you sharing it. And has, resource therapy, parts work in general, has it what's it added to the way you understand your clients, your therapy even?
I think probably one of the biggest changes will be about, making sure I'm working with the right state. So, explaining that we're not working with the state that knows the story, although I do want to hear the story and, share that with me. That's important. But in terms of like what are we, how are we using our time today? What are we ready to work on? Really getting that the right state to the lead mic or the lead instrument, as you'll hear in my training.
Oh, yes, that's right. I love it. Yes, you've got a whole orchestra that is available. Wonderful vehicle for sharing our different parts. Yes. And you do need the right part at the microphone, don't you?
Absolutely. And then once you've got that state speaking, then RT has all of these beautiful frameworks to help us gather and consolidate that information that state's sharing with us, and the beautiful treatment pathways based on the condition that we're working with.
Absolutely. And as you're saying that, sort of as an experienced therapist, as I know you are, but what benefits do you think RT, because it does, isn't it? It's got a real structure for beginning and new therapists. It may offer, say in the foundation, Jackie.
Sorry, what was the question again?
What would you think the benefits might be for a new practitioner, someone new? Because yeah.
It gives a beautiful structure. And I mean, new therapists, experienced therapists, I think we all have these moments where we think we know where a case is going and then something happens and we can feel a little stuck. Whereas RT, gives us this clinical roadmap, if you like, of, how we move through the therapeutic process. But for me personally, also at the pace that feels safe enough for the client and all their parts, because that is key for me. Nothing is more important than that felt sense of safety in the therapy room. And as we work with that one state at a time, checking, that I love that makes the work feel safer, less overwhelming,
And truly trauma informed as you're checking in. And I love it because you use that resource therapy. What are you ready to change? It's the opportunity out there for a person, and many people haven't been asked that. Have
yes.
they?
And I also think the question's important because, sometimes clients will come to therapy and we have this overarching goal of what we're working towards, but life's complex. And sometimes, what they're ready is here, within that overarching goal, and to, just sort of like steamroll at a pace to feel, like an effective therapist or to reach goals quickly is not, not working with what feels comfortable for the client or the state.
True. It's got me thinking there as you're saying that about our own therapist parts as well that are at
Yes.
play. Therapy room and how they present. Yeah. So I guess that leads me to another question. How has it changed how you're listening to clients' presentations, their problems and issues with this in an RT sort of framework lens?
Yeah, I think I'm slowing down like the conversations with the clients, knowing our overarching frameworks and the conditions that RT says that our client states present in. So just really listening for with this experience that the client is sharing with me, is it an overwhelming emotion that's not been resolved? Are these outdated coping behaviors, or what's actually happening? If one thing could feel slightly better or different, what is it that the client would like to change? So listening from that sort of, I suppose you could call it like a lens of wanting to categorize, what the client is ready to change, being really clear. I think that that clarity is important. Otherwise, you can sometimes get stuck just sitting in and understanding the client's story, but then still being like, well, where to from here? Whereas RT helps that not be the case.
Absolutely. There's definitely lots of space for empathy and for the unfolding of a client story, but that's not enough in clinical practice, is it? And especially with people who have time pressures, financial pressures, but working directly with that part as you do and knowing which way to go can really, as you say, slow it down, but also speed it up in a way.
Suppose, yes. And like as we're talking now, I'm thinking like I must have a part saying it's like case conceptualization. I'm like, yes, it shifts, how we conceptualize or how I conceptualize cases with clients. There's another lens that now comes into that.
Okay, well, you know what I'm going to ask you now about, because tell me more about how you now case conceptualize.
Well, I guess I'm being very attachment informed generally, and it's sort of like, what has happened to this person? Like, how are they here in this room with me today? What sort of has contributed to that? And then from that, it's like, well, what have your early coping strategies been? I guess if we have a client who has come because there's a behavior that's currently happening that they would like to be different. I love that as you sort of sit in that space with them, you're like, okay, you explain that perhaps, this behavior helps you sit with an uncomfortable internal experience, who sat with you, when you were a kid, when things were difficult, what did that look like? And obviously, often, the coping behavior is different in adulthood, but sort of explaining and unpacking that underlying theme. So I like looking at those patterns with clients as well.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's like a dot connecting conversation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially sometimes post work in the debrief, where
Mm,
surprising where you land up, and the compassion of these parts that are really are quite incredible of what they've survived, isn't what people. It's an honour of work, isn't it? So having, I guess, I'm very proud of you as someone I've trained and who is now training others. Like, so it's lovely to showcase your work. So tell us, you've delivered day one of the foundations. What were some of the highlights for you around that?
Oh, highlights, but definitely hearing and seeing the expression on people's faces to places that they vivified to, like vivified and bridged to. So, comments around, oh, I haven't thought about that beautiful memory in such a long time. And it was really landing the modality and those moments were really landing, about the importance of bridging and why we do it. And it's lovely to hear them say, "Oh, I haven't thought about that, or I haven't experienced something like that. Or thought about that experience for a long time." It was really meaningful.
Really meaningful, and I can hear that experiential element where people were really able to take the work and practice it in vivo
Absolutely.
in your workshop. That's exciting. And what surprised you most about some of the questions or responses or conversations within your group?
Had the opportunity of training some really experienced clinicians, clinicians that have lots of different modalities behind them, coming from lots of different professional backgrounds. So I could see, as they were being exposed to the content and thinking about it, they're thinking about, how it relates to different modalities, how specific client presentations, they might be able to apply this. So there was lots of deep thinking, lots of uh, rich discussions around, even as much as like the origins of RT and, really wanting to understand, how RT came to be today. Lots of questions and discussion around language, wanting to make, I suppose, sort of, wanting to keep the authenticity of the model whilst
Yep.
also wanting to sort of fit for the therapist and, the language that they thought would suit their clients. So lots of really rich conversations.
It sounds like a wonderful, interesting, and diverse group of very experienced practitioners. In a way, sometimes that can be a bit of a, what can I say, sometimes a bit of a block in a way, because I find new therapists, sometimes they're a bit more fresher and open to things, because we bring in our modalities, of course, and that's natural and want to combine them as well. And, so I've lost my train of thought a little bit there. There we go. And having that opportunity, oh, that's right, yeah, it was a reminder because you sent me a question from the group actually, which was really amazing. So I know they were very interested in the origins because they asked about what were the women involved in resource therapy, and I guess you and I are part of that beginning history of more and more women being involved.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, there was deep thinking.
in terms of, yeah, because it's a brief psychodynamic therapy. So I was thinking Anna Freud in a way, and even I'm going to say Melanie Klein. Actually, those sort of object relations, early attachment folk, and Mary. Oh, you know who I mean, not Mary. The the experiment. Oh, I can't think of it. It'll come to me. But Mary Main and really early attachment stuff, it kind of weaves in all of that. But there's not enough woman in history, is there, in many of the psychology? And
No, yes, perhaps paving a new way forward now, Philippa.
absolutely, and we're so proud of you doing that. So, what what do you hope that your resource therapy will bring to therapists your training? What do you want them to, to ultimately with their clients? What are you hoping for?
I hope it sort of like just expands the therapeutic toolbox. And I think one of the strongest takeaways with RT is that sort of structured roadmap because since having that myself, there's been a lot less stuck moments. Not to say I know all answers or that RT solves all challenging moments in the therapy room, but it definitely helps me sit with complex cases in a different way. So I hope my training and broadening the RT modality helps people, feel more confident in the work they do with their clients, and just a few extra tools in their resource kit.
Absolutely. Yes. And I'm thinking too, as you mentioned the structure, do you think, and then teaching the foundation, you're learning about the theory.
Mhm.
Yeah. If you think about that, what has that kind of, does that add another layer as well? I'm wondering, having a theory of why this is happening and when, that gives us the structure of the RT treatment actions. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm following the question. So having an understanding of the theory.
Mm,
So I guess as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that beautiful diagram that we have of, our different conditions and the different actions and what we and or how we do the work when we do that categorization. So yes,
mm.
I guess maybe the foundation is giving them a little bit of a taster of the more complex work that can come in the clinical for, with those other treatment pathways that we don't cover in the foundation course.
Yeah, obviously, it's a 10-day program in the first 2 days of the foundation because
Yeah.
there's 15 treatment actions. And you as an attachment therapist, you can see how our earliest relationships shape and build our parts. I love that
Mm,
Gordon came up with that conceptually, not only conceptually, but it's, physically, we have, physical neurons and
mm,
dendrites that,
mm, mm.
yeah, it's fantastic, isn't he? He's a bit of a genius. I think he's the modern day Freud.
It's a beautiful modality, absolutely. And I see a real shift for clients when you can explain parts to them. Sometimes I'll reference that movie, Inside Out, and I know it's a much more sort of basic concept of RT, but I think it's a way that clients can sometimes easily anchor into the concept. And you can see a real shift. Like I can see a softening when you're explaining, this is a part of you. It is not all of you. This is formed, in an adaptive way. It's perhaps just not serving the purpose that, when it was originally formed. And there's just something that shifts. I can sense it in the energy of the room. I guess it creates a sense of hopefulness that perhaps hasn't always been there, or at least that's what I feel like I'm sensing while I'm in that space with my clients.
Oh, I can hear your clinical intuition there tuning into your clients as
Mhm.
well, that softening, because, yeah, if you're a monolithic block, you don't have a lot of flexibility. Whereas if hearing, as you say, that softening of, oh, it's only a part of me, not all of me, all encompassing it, it moves away from that diagnostic of the DSM-5. I mean, sure, we need that, but giving people an opportunity to reflect, and as you say, that sort of that softening, and I'm thinking compassion and self-empathy, because yeah,
I think compassion's so important. I mean, especially when we're looking at, clients who present with, perhaps coping behaviors that they
mm,
sometimes feel ashamed of having. Um, and, when we strip all of that back and we look at, that important, role that part
mm,
thinks it's serving, and how it's, perhaps trying to keep that person safe or protect from overwhelming feelings. Again, it's like, oh, like, I feel like that part stays in the conversation in a different way when when it realizes that we're not there to be critical, we're not there to judge, we're wanting to
mm.
work with it to resolve and shift, what the weight of what it's been carrying.
You said it so well. You meet with the part and it feels seen and heard and
Yes.
connected with in a safe way, and non-judgmental, and that becomes a broader conversation, doesn't it? Very illuminating in a sense.
I will often have that sort of conversation with clients. I mean, in the space that I work with, the beautiful clients that I have the privilege of working with, they have sometimes like a whole army of protectors that are part of them, that are in their system. And I will say, things like, I know all your beautiful parts are listening, and I want them to know that we're going to work at the pace of what feels safe enough for them,
Mm,
and really honoring and acting on that. So when you can see that, something feels a little bit uncomfortable, checking in, will we move back from this now? Like, and as they start to feel heard, and,
mm,
they can see that we're responding to them rather than
mm,
just moving through because they're the steps in a process. I
mm,
think they start to soften and allow,
mm,
allow the modality to
mm.
be present.
Yeah, I love it because RT is a therapy of with compassion and connection, isn't it? With our inner selves and, as you say, all instruments in our orchestra, or I like the crew, and as they're communicating more flexibly, and we teach this, then and that happens outside of the room. It's incredible, isn't it? It's transferable.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, it's brilliant, but it's also got a flexibility to it, isn't it? It's not rigid. It has some therapies kind of you have to do this when and where. I like there's an artistry to that. Have you found that yourself? What?
Yeah. Yes, and so like I'm just trying to think of an example. Like I like the way sometimes trainers will say things like, learn the structure so you can make it yours. And whilst I liked the client, like I think there's an importance in knowing the steps in the treatment pathway. It's not like I have it in front of me. It's you're really attuning to what's happening.
Mm, mm.
For the parts in the room. So knowing it well enough to, adhere to the overarching principles, but then moving fluidly with what the client and their part need.
Yeah, it's a framework, isn't it? And I'm sure that's Chris's words, that having the structure and then being able to throw it away.
Yes, yes.
Is
I'm trying to find the words to like, but yes, basically that, Chris.
because it gives you the guidelines and kind of guardrails to really stay within your client's window of tolerance, your own window of tolerance as well, and titrate and the parts. Yeah, it's
And that,
fantastic.
I think that makes it much more authentic as well, like the work that you're doing is much more authentic because you're moving and honoring, the experience in the room in that moment.
Honoring and experiencing that moment. And I imagine that will draw certain types of therapists to this modality as well, who perhaps, love to attune and
Yes.
work alongside of, sometimes we're
Mm.
in front of, behind.
Yes. Yes.
And I'll bet that happens a lot in your work, I'm hearing. And what a great opportunity that you're sharing it with other therapists. I love that. And so, because you really dived in. I was very impressed. I said this earlier. And you're brave to share it. And what are you most proud of? That you're already on your coming up to your second day this weekend, and you'll be inviting more people in. What are you most proud of, Jackie?
I am I'm most proud of allowing myself to be seen. I am proud of, sitting with the parts that were, like I've had many conflicted states, possibly, the part of me that wants to be a trainer and the part of me that's like, oh, I'm not sure whether or not this is the right time right now. So I've done lots of my own work personally and professionally, but I mean, I've been in the helping sector, broadly speaking, for almost 20 years, and I've stayed small for that time because it's felt safer. And now I'm being brave, and allowing my skills and my experience to be shared. Not because I'm an RT expert by any means. We're all always learning and growing, but I'm really proud. I actually have my song. I have a song.
Oh, beautiful.
That helps me be my trainer part, or that helps my trainer part step forward. Um, so I'm proud, yeah, just proud to have, allowed 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 myself to step into this spotlight now. And thank you for your support on this journey.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. And as you were saying that, to be seen, I just had this deja vu emotional moment there. And thank goodness that part is allowing you to be seen and sharing more of your gifts and your growth and what you've got to offer of your 20 years rather than being small. We're glad for all those beautiful, brave parts and that you are willing to be seen. Yes, I'm glad that you're proud of that part too. It's brought a little tear to my eyes. I was quite goosebumpy moment there, and I'm sure people watching this will have that because they could see your authenticity. And most people, there's so much you have to offer and others, in sharing your passion and joy. So we really celebrate you, Jackie, in this community because resource therapy, the Australian Resource Therapy Institute, and of course Resource Therapy International. We're lucky to have Jackie listed as a trainer there, and she'll have her calendar dates up very shortly. And this is a wonderful time to get involved with this Australian-made heart therapy. Gordon lives in Australia, and it was birthed here. And we're all going to meet. We meet online, but there is a building a tribe. That's what I think of, the RT tribe, where, of course, we'll all hopefully be meeting in person in Germany, June 17th and 19th. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Community is so important, I think. So thanks, Philipa.
Well, thank you for joining me, Jackie. And jump onto RT International, ARTI, Jackie's website there, and there'll be more in the information below. Wonderful to have you here today, Jackie. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.